Superheroes, spacefaring warriors, adventuring archaeologists. What do these three things have in common? Well, they're probably not going to be hiring for these at your nearest job fair, but they are the go-to occupations for some of the most popular characters on film and TV. While the actors who play these high-octane roles are household names, the stuntmen and women who step in for these actors are just as essential to their success. Join us at ScreenRant as we count down these 10 stunt doubles who often do just as good a job as the name actors. In The Mandalorian, Disney Plus's hugely successful Star Wars TV series, Pedro Pascal stars as the title character.
This is the way.
But your mind may be blown to discover that Pascal isn't always under the helmet in The Mandalorian. Bryce Dallas Howard, who directed The Mandalorian's fourth installment, Sanctuary, stated that she didn't really work with Pascal while she was on set. At that time, Pascal was off prepping for his Broadway run in King Lear. In his place were two stunt doubles, Lateef Crowder and Brendan Wayne. According to Howard, Brendan Wayne spent the most time in Mando's suit, and the film industry is in his blood. Brendan Wayne is actually the grandson of screen legend John Wayne. According to Pascal, he, Crowder, and Wayne work very closely to make sure their movements match and their acting motivations are fully aligned. While Pascal provides all of Mando's voice, the fact that three different performers are able to align their own interpretations is an accomplishment in and of itself. The Black Widow's story arc seemed to get a definitive ending in Avengers Endgame, yet she's back for her own solo movie. Whether this opens the door for even more appearances in the MCU remains to be seen. However, the mastermind behind all of her moves just might be Heidi Moneymaker. Moneymaker works closely with the star and the fight director in order to coordinate and finesse all of Black Widow's stunts. Heidi feels particularly at home as Black Widow. Her previous career as a gymnast at UCLA prepped her for the intense and dangerous demands of crime fighting, Marvel style.
Oh my God!
And Heidi has said she appreciates that she gets to be Black Widow of all the heroes on Marvel's roster. To her, Black Widow is a normal woman with extraordinary skills, and that allows her to exhibit some highly specialized martial arts moves. In coordinating the combat, Heidi says, "It's Scarlett's character, so I want to make sure she can do as much of the fight as possible." In catering to Scarlett's strengths, Heidi notes that they like to use knee spins and Scarlett's favored hand as much as possible. But any of the acrobatic takedowns and wild jumps that you see Black Widow do, that's probably Heidi. The MCU likes to keep things in the family, at least it seems that way. What with the Captain Marvel stunt woman and the Black Widow stunt woman being real-life sisters. That's right, Renae Moneymaker is Heidi Moneymaker's sibling. Renae Moneymaker shares Captain Marvel's stunting duties with Joanna Bennett. According to Joanna, the entire process is as thrilling as it is time-consuming, often rising at 2 a.m. Joanna makes her way onto the set and spends several hours getting into hair and makeup as crew members ensure she looks as much like Brie Larson as possible. Not only does she need to make sure all of her work is prepped and her fights are fully rehearsed, she needs to make sure that Brie Larson is up to speed with the fights as well. With months of rehearsals under their belts, Joanna and Renae would still rehearse the given scene before the day shoot and then perform it for anywhere from 20 to 70 takes before the cameras. For Joanna, the hardest part isn't getting thrown hundreds of feet or falling from tall buildings, it's kicking butt while wearing dresses and high heels. Another set of siblings have been behind Captain America. When Captain America was doing all that stuff that was too dangerous for Chris Evans to undertake, that was the job for Sam Hargrave. Sam has been doubling for a variety of superheroes, principally as Steve Rogers / Captain America throughout much of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. When Infinity War came around, Sam found himself coordinating the complex fights and enlisted his brother Daniel to take his place as Captain America's stunt double. The two Hargraves were able to face off against each other for the sequence in Stark Tower, where identical captains from different times have an epic fistfight.
I can do this all day.
Yeah, I know.
In the MCU, the family connections don't just end with Captain America. In Thor: Dark World, Chris Hemsworth's real-life wife, Spanish model Elsa Pataky, doubled for Natalie Portman when the actress couldn't make a day of shooting. Appropriately, this scene comprised of Thor and Jane Foster's reunion, so Elsa got to be the one to give her husband the passionate kiss that, on screen, seems to be shared by Chris and Natalie. Chris Hemsworth, on the other hand, is much more difficult to double. That job, which belongs to Bobby Holland Handon, requires a ton of extra training simply to match Hemsworth's bulky muscular frame. The filming schedule for Marvel movies are particularly tight, but with the back-to-back work required for Avengers: Infinity War and Endgame, Handon needed to stay on his intense twice-a-day workout regimen for nearly 18 months. Plus, when Thor gained extra weight in Endgame, Handon explained, "I had to wear a fat suit, as well as a costume, as well as a harness, as well as stunt pads. It was the most difficult thing. Thankfully, it wasn't as physically stressful as Thor Ragnarok, which apparently required so many stunts. Handon injured his groin, back, and neck. That said, the success of the character means more work for Handon, as he's basically become Chris Hemsworth's shadow, doubling for the Australian actor in whatever he's cast." While we're talking about stunt people, here's a simple stunt you can perform on your own. On your phone, go to settings, turn on notifications, and YouTube will notify you whenever the next ScreenRant video is available. Some stunt doubles don't start out as good guys. Like G. De Silva, they need to work their way up. De Silva got a start in the MCU in Captain America: Winter Soldier. He played one of the agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. in the famous elevator scene.
Before we get started, does anyone want to get out?
And since he was knocked out early in the fight, De Silva needed to spend much of the filming of that scene pretending to be unconscious. Actually passed out while pretending to be unconscious. This method level of dedication may have paid off because the stuntman was given an even bigger break. Later, he got to double for Chadwick Boseman as the Black Panther. His fancy footwork and martial arts experience is likely what got De Silva the role, and he put his training to good use during the airport tarmac sequence during Captain America: Civil War, spinning, flipping, raising, and jackknifing his way to stuntman glory. Apparently, while filming Endgame, De Silva was so overcome with emotion during the Avengers Assemble sequence in the film's finale that he started to tear up. Luckily at the time, he was wearing the Black Panther helmet. For Marvin Ross, who played Tom Holland's friendly neighborhood stunt double, the anonymity of the Spider-Man suit was the best part. He could put on the mask and no one would know it was Marvin underneath. That made him really feel like Spider-Man in the flesh. Marvin Ross was able to physically imbue the character with all the hyperactive teenage excitement that Tom Holland brings to the part. Just wearing that red and blue webbed suit allowed Marvin to feel right at home, punching his back and making Spider-Man's signature web-slinging gestures. And since Holland also has gymnastics and dance training, he and Marvin were able to work closely together in bringing Peter Parker and Spider-Man to life. In Spider-Man's big debut during the airport tarmac fight in Civil War, Marvin had to take all the hits that we see Spider-Man take in the finished film. When Captain America faces off against Spidey, for instance, a wire rigged to a harness would yank Marvin back whenever Cap's shield hit him. After several takes, landing hard every time, Marvin said that he couldn't really taste anything. That's dedication. Wonder Woman has proven that the storytelling of the DC movies can compete with the MCU. The success of her origin story and the excitement around her upcoming sequel, Wonder Woman 1984, is due in no small part to Gal Gadot's charisma. Her stunt double, Alicia Vela-Bailey, is equally beautiful, and while Vela-Bailey may just handle the more physical aspects of the role, you might be shocked to learn that she did some of her work while she was pregnant. In Wonder Woman, while Diana is training in Themyscira, Alicia noted that Wonder Woman's gold-skirted costume doesn't allow for any hidden pads, so Alicia needed to do all of her physical actions without added protection. Luckily, a lot of the stunts for that scene involved swordplay, and Alicia didn't need to get hit by any fake weaponry. In another shot, Alicia needed to take a tumble, landing and rolling on a hard surface. After she landed in her final position, Gal Gadot would step in, coming out of the roll, getting to her feet, and getting all the credit. Kill Bill is a standard for stylized action violence, even nearly 2 decades after its release. This is thanks to Uma Thurman's powerful and vengeful performance, but it's also a major credit to the work of Uma's stunt double, Zoe Bell. The New Zealand-born stunt woman and actress was essential in selling the masterful martial arts sequences. Bell impressed Quentin Tarantino so much that he gave her the lead role in his Grindhouse film, Death Proof. Here, Zoe wasn't just doing the stunts, she was basically carrying an entire movie on her more than able shoulders. This led to more roles as Six-Horse Judy in Tarantino's Hateful Eight and as Janet Miller in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. What's even more amazing about her credits is that prior to experiencing Kill Bill, her only other major credit was her work on Xena Warrior Princess. That said, she was Lucy Lawless's double, providing stunts for 66 episodes. That was probably enough training to ready her for the trenches with Tarantino. More recently, she served as Cate Blanchett's stunt double for Thor Ragnarok. Now, we've been through 9 of the best stunt performers in Hollywood. how could we possibly end this list? Well, let's talk about a legendary figure who worked for one of the most famous actors of all time in some of the most cherished films of the past 50 years. We're talking Harrison Ford's stunt double for Indiana Jones, Mr. Vic Armstrong. While they share similarly rugged looks, Armstrong is the guy who handled some of the most famous stunts in modern cinema, including the classic horse and truck race in Raiders of the Lost Ark. You know, the scene where Indy, or should we say Vic, is dragged through the dirt behind the truck that carries the Ark, just barely hanging on to the back of the truck by his whip. In a photograph of the two wearing matching Indy garb, Ford wrote, "Vic, if you learn to talk, I'm in deep trouble. Harrison." Do you think you have what it takes to be a stunt double? Not only do you have to look the part, but you need to be physically prepared for the wildest chases, the craziest jumps, and the riskiest set pieces. Stunt work may not be for everyone, but ScreenRant is, so stick around for more videos like this one.